Thank you for joining us today for part 7 of the A to Z 45 RPM vinyl records collection here at My Media Museum. And we've got Bob Seger, Night Moves. And technically this is the B-side, but this is clearly a reissue because it's got, dates originally released November of 76. That would make this the B-side because the A-side is April of 76 with Main Street. But while I like the song Main Street just fine, I definitely like Night Moves better. So I wanted to show that one first, especially being the first one out of the gate here for episode 7 of this series. And now here we got Take Those Old Records Off the Shelf. The Old Time Rock and Roll. Featured in the motion picture Risky Business. Now who doesn't know the old Tom Cruise sliding across the floor listening to dun 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 dun. Yeah, all right, and that was actually a great song from Stranger in Town, and the B-side here is Till It Shines, which isn't a song that I'm nearly as familiar with. But seeing how they've got that from the motion picture, that's clearly reissued. The original would not have said that. That song was not written for that film. That song was used in that film. So, next up, we've got Shame on the Moon, which is a good song of his from The Distance. And the B-side of that being House Behind a House. I think that'd be like Mouse Behind a House or something, but House Behind a House, I'm not really sure what that's all about. It's kind of funny. But here we've got a great one. Still the Same, Nothing's Gotten to You Yet. Oh, Bob's got so many awesome songs, so many great songs. He did a ton of successful work over the 70s and 80s. Maybe a little bit into the 90s, but he was retired there for a long time, raising up his son, I believe, kind of like John Lennon did, took some time off to raise a family, and who can blame him? I'm glad he enjoyed his life and did that. B-side of this one being Feel Like a Number. This is a double A-side, as far as I'm concerned. Feel Like a Number and Still the Same are both really great songs, but Stranger in Town was a pretty impressive album as well. Here we're getting a little older, though. Here we're going back to some of the earlier days, because anytime you've got the Bob Seger system, you're talking about the earlier 70s. And Rambin', Gamblin' Man. If you ever got a copy of Live Bullet, you probably know the live version better than the studio one. But this was definitely on Live Bullet. And the B-side being a song called Tales of Lucy Blue. All right. And that kind of does it for the Bob Segers for us. Next up, we've got Bobby Darin. Splish splash, I was taking a bath. Doo, doo, doo. Looks like somebody used a Crayola crown to mark their property with this one. And they chose to do it on both sides. Judy, Don't Be Moody being the B-side off of Splish Splash. And I do believe this is probably an original printing. That label and having a much less known song on the B-side, that's probably the way that it originally came out. And here we've got Bobby Day, Rockin' Robin. This was my mother's 45 RPM. So this is an original, I would assume original, from back in the day, class records. But Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, tweedledee, Bobby Day, and going back quite a few years. And the B-side being a song called Over and Over. Don't remember that song too well, though I'm sure back in the day I gave it a spin or two. But I definitely liked Rockin' Robin. That was one that I could, enjoy, the upbeat, happy songs. Here's a great one, just a really great one. I love that Mustang logo there. That's pretty gosh darn cool, ain't it? And Bobby Fuller Ford, darn. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. B-side, Little Annie Lou. Don't know that one, but I definitely do love the A-side on that one. Now we've got a picture sleeve from Bon Jovi. You give love a bad name off a slippery when wet. Yeah, I had a good friend in high school, had that poster hanging on his bedroom wall. I think a lot of you lived through the period or were Bon Jovi fans might know the image that I'm talking about. She did look a little slippery, and she was wet. So here we go. You Give Love a Bad Name being the A-side on that label. And the B-side being Raise Your Hands. Raise your hands to rock, rock. Yeah. All right, now this is definitely a reissue. I did have an original of this from when it came out, but my sister seemed to have went through my 45s at one time while I was away from home and took a bunch of them, because who else would have? I can't prove anything, but I definitely had strong suspicions that she took this one. And it's Boston More Than a Feeling. Great song. Couldn't say I blamed her. But it's definitely not the original release. It's a Memory Lane reissue. And it's interesting, though, because it's got the 3-minute, 3-second version of Long Time, which is kind of a joke. You take a long song off of a great album, chop it up, put it on a 45, and call it Long Time. Mainly, it's just missing the entire intro, leading up to it. Wow, wow, it's been such a long time. I think I shall be going. Don't look back. And I always think of a review I heard on the radio when this came out. And the DJ was actually talking about how, they called the album Don't Look Back because it sounds exactly like the first album. Which, hey, wasn't really a bad thing. The first album was awesome. Second album was pretty much, just like the first album. A lot of good songs, well done productions. But Tom Schultz got into some craziness, fighting with the record companies, and kind of put an end to Boston there for a long, long time. There's such a gap between the second and third albums that it's ridiculous. But Don't Look Back being the A-side, and The Journey, which is an instrumental, being on the B-side of that one. It's only 1 minute and 35 seconds, so wasn't like they were giving you a lot for your money. But look how beautiful that is. I mean, vinyl cannot be more clean. Like I said, it looks like the day it was made. And here we are getting into Amanda, the third album, when they finally got their legal issues straightened out. And we got this one. The A-side being Amanda, and the B-side being My Destination, which were both pretty good songs, poppy songs. But there again, as I've said recently in one of the recent videos I filmed, I was getting much more into metal by the time you get into the early 80s, and this wasn't doing it for me. I love the classic rock. I loved what Boston had done before, but Third Stage was not an album that really impressed me much. But nowadays, in hindsight, it's a great album. I enjoy it. But here we've got Bread doing Baby I'ma Want You, Baby I'ma Need You. And since it's a spun gold, it's obviously a reissue. B-side being Everything I Own. Going back to 1972. 71 for the Baby I'ma Want You. All right, now here we have what I said a minute ago. Now, this is not my original childhood copy of Smoking in the Boys' Room from Brownsville Station, but it looks identical to my childhood one. You will know that my childhood copy has some scribblings. And see, number 4, that was it. This was the fourth 45 RPM record that I ever bought. And I love the way it says this record is compatible stereo. So you can listen to it in mono or stereo, depending on your system. 1973, I was young. But the B-side of that being a song called Barefootin', which I remember not being too impressed with when I got the 45. I loved Smoking in the Boys Room, and I was like, what is this on the B-side? But as the years have went on, and I've heard it more and more, it's grown on me, and I do now consider Barefootin' to be a pretty darn good song. But not when I originally got it back in 1973. I didn't feel that way. So here we got Bruce Hornsby and the Range doing Mandolin Rain, which is a great song from the 80s. Like I said, I'm not a big, huge fan of the pop music from the 80s, but there are standouts, and this is one of them. That muffin up on the label, it's hard to understand because you look at the label and it's really not scuffed up. So I don't know if that's the glue coming through or what's caused that, but I have a number of 45 RPM records, mostly all RCAs, that have this kind of an issue. The only thing I can guess is it's something to do with the glue, because that's not stacker wear, it's not roughed up, you can tell, you can see. It's been in a picture sleeve, it's been well protected, the vinyl's in mint shape, so why would the label do like that? There's no explanation. But this is one of those special ones to get a hold of, especially if you're a Bruce Hornsby fan. The Red Plain Special Live version. So here you've got an exclusive B-side track. And now here, someone who we were just talking about a little bit ago, a guy that generates me a lot of thumbs down because I have a hard time keeping my personal feelings to myself. But yeah, he can write music. He's got some great songs out there, but not something that I would have bought. I didn't buy any of these for what they were. These came along in mixed boxes, or I wouldn't have a single Bruce Springsteen in my collection. But Fire, decent song with the B-side. Incident on 57th Street live version. So this is another example. Could be something special that you wouldn't get elsewhere. All right, well, come on back. We'll have some more.